The slurs flew like spitballs across the classroom, sharp and stinging, until one landed too close. A crumpled note that read, "Dyke teacher, go die." And Natalie felt the familiar burn of tears she refused to let fall. In that split second as the bell rang and chaos erupted, she locked eyes with the ringleader, a boy whose smirk twisted into something uglier when she didn't flinch. But it was the girl in the back row, Nevaeh, who stood up first, her voice cutting through the noise like a lifeline. "Enough. She's more human than any of you will ever be." West Palm Beach shimmered under the relentless Florida sun that September, its palm-lined streets and turquoise waves a postcard of paradise that hid the undercurrents of judgment like seaweed tangled in the surf. Natalie Harper had come here 5 years ago, fresh out of grad school at the University of Miami, chasing the dream of teaching English to kids who needed stories more than textbooks. At 32, she was the kind of teacher who made Shakespeare feel like Snapchat confessions, relatable, raw, alive. Her classroom at Palm Grove High was a sanctuary of dog-eared paperbacks and student murals depicting waves crashing into metaphors, but lately, it felt more like a battlefield. It started small, the way these things always do in a town where "live and let live" was more slogan than scripture. A whispered fag behind her back during parent-teacher night. A rainbow sticker peeled off her planner and left in shreds on her desk. Then the notes escalated, anonymous at first, slipped into her bag or taped to the whiteboard. "We don't want your kind teaching our kids." Natalie knew her kind meant lesbian, out and proud since she was 19, when she'd kissed her college roommate under the neon glow of a South Beach bar and never looked back. She'd reported it all to Principal Ramirez, a well-meaning man with a mustache like a broom and zero spine for confrontation. "Kids being kids," he'd sigh, filing another incident report that went nowhere. But Natalie didn't crumble. She channeled it into her lessons, weaving tales of outcasts who triumphed, Oscar Wilde's wit slicing through Victorian hypocrisy, Audre Lorde's fire against silence. Her students, a mix of sun-bleached surfers, kids from the trailer parks off Dixie Highway, and the children of snowbirds who'd fled the Northeast for condos on the Intracoastal, mostly ate it up. Mostly. There was a core group, though led by Tyler Grant, 17, captain of the water polo team with a jawline sharp as his daddy's real estate deals, who saw her as a threat. To their fragile egos, to the Bible study groups that met after school, to the invisible line drawn in the sand between normal and not. That's where Nevaeh Ruiz came in, like a rogue wave on a calm afternoon. At 28, she was the new student teacher, assigned to Natalie's senior English class as part of her certification program at Florida Atlantic University. Nevaeh had grown up in the shadow of the Everglades, her family running a bait-and-tackle shop where the air smelled of salt and skepticism. She was all curves and confidence, with hazel eyes that sparkled like sea glass and a laugh that could coax a smile from a storm cloud. She'd majored in literature because books had been her escape from a childhood of hand-me-downs, and her abuela's rosaries clutched against the sins of the city. But Nevaeh carried her own secret, a faded tattoo of a crescent moon on her wrist, inked after her first love. A girl from community college had ghosted her for a guy with a truck and a trust fund. From day one, Nevaeh slotted into Natalie's orbit like she belonged there. "Miss Harper," she'd say, leaning against the desk with a stack of essays in hand, "these kids are gold. Rough around the edges but gold." Natalie would nod, her dark curls bouncing as she graded papers under the hum of the AC unit that wheezed like an old man. There was something in Nevaeh's gaze, a quiet hunger that mirrored Natalie's own, the kind that bloomed in stolen glances during lesson planning, over coffee runs to the Dunkin' on Okeechobee Boulevard. Their first real conversation happened after school, in the staff lounge that doubled as a confessional for burnt-out educators. Natalie was nursing a lukewarm latte, scrolling through her phone for the latest headlines on Florida's bathroom bills, when Nevaeh plopped down with a tray of empanadas smuggled from her mom's kitchen. "Peace offering," Nevaeh said, her accent wrapping around the words like a warm breeze. "For invading your space. And because you look like you could use some real food." Natalie laughed, the sound surprising her. Invasion accepted. These things are better than therapy. They talked for hours, about the ache of loving women in a world that still flinched, about the books that saved them, Toni Morrison for Natalie, Sandra Cisneros for Nevaeh. By the time the janitor flicked on the lights, signaling closing time, Natalie felt seen in a way she hadn't since her last breakup 2 years back, with a yoga instructor who'd bailed when the homophobia hit too close to home. As weeks blurred into a humid October, the classroom dynamic shifted in subtle ways. Nevaeh co-taught with a flair that drew the kids in, role-playing scenes from The Color Purple, with props scavenged from the drama closet, turning sonnets into spoken-word slams that echoed off the lockers. Tyler and his crew grumbled, but even they couldn't ignore her energy. "Miss Ruiz is cool," one girl whispered to another, and Natalie caught the flicker of pride in Nevaeh's eyes when she overheard. Privately, though, the sparks between them ignited. Late afternoons bled into evenings at Clematis Street bars, where craft IPAs flowed and live bands strummed covers of Fleetwood Mac. One night, under strings of Edison bulbs strung like stars, Nevaeh reached across the table and traced the back of Natalie's hand. "You fight every day," she murmured, her thumb lingering on a faint scar from a shattered mug during a heated argument with her ex like it's nothing. "It's everything," Natalie replied, her voice thick. Their fingers intertwined, and in that touch, the world narrowed to the pulse of possibility. They kissed for the first time on the beach at midnight, the Atlantic whispering secrets as waves lapped at their bare feet. Nevaeh tasted like salt and guava, her hands gentle on Natalie's waist, pulling her close against the chill of the night air. It was tentative, reverent, a promise forged in the dark, away from prying eyes. But secrets in West Palm Beach had a way of surfacing, like bottles tossed from cruise ships washing up on Peanut Island. By November, the notes had evolved into graffiti. "Harper's a homo" scrawled in Sharpie on the bathroom stall. "Tyler's doing, no doubt. His father's a deacon at the megachurch off Southern Boulevard, the kind that preached love thy neighbor while picketing pride parades." Natalie confronted him after class one day, her voice steady as she closed the door. "This stops, Tyler. Or it goes to the principal. Again." He leaned back in his chair, all cocky nonchalance. "Just joking, Miss H, lighten up." But his eyes darted to the window, where Nevaeh was waiting by her beat-up Honda, oblivious. That night, Natalie broke down in her one-bedroom apartment overlooking the lagoon, the walls lined with photos of her chosen family, her sister from Philly, her drag queen bestie from the Keys. She called her mom, voice cracking over the line. "They're breaking me, Ma. And I don't know why I thought I could change them." Her mother's reply was a bomb, soft and sure. "Because you're Natalie. You see the good in people, even when they forget it's there." Hanging up, Natalie scrolled through her texts from Nevaeh. Memes about bad dates, quotes from "Their eyes were watching God." She typed back, "Come over? Need you." Nevaeh arrived with takeout from John's Raw Bar, oysters on the half-shell that they slurped while binge-watching the L-Word reruns. Laughter turned to leaning, shoulders brushing on the couch, until Nevaeh cupped Natalie's face and kissed her forehead, then her lips slow like unraveling a knot. "I'm here," she whispered. "All in." In the quiet after, tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender detergent, Natalie confessed her fears. "What if they find out about us? It'll ruin you before you even start." Nevaeh propped herself on an elbow, her hair a wild halo in the lamplight. "Let them try. I've got nothing to hide anymore." It was the closest she'd come to sharing her past, the girl who'd left her heartbroken, the abuela who'd called it una phase. But in Natalie's arms, Nevaeh felt whole, like the pieces of herself had finally washed ashore. Their romance deepened like the roots of a banyan tree, sprawling and intertwined. Weekends meant drives down A1A, windows down, blasting Tracy Chapman as they picnicked at John D. MacArthur Beach State Park. Nevaeh taught Natalie to spot manatees in the shallows, their slow grace a metaphor for patience. Natalie read her poetry aloud under the stars, her voice weaving vulnerability into verse. "You're my safe harbor," she'd say, and Nevaeh would blush, replying, "And you're the storm I want to weather." At school they kept it professional, stolen smiles over grading rubrics, a brush of hands passing chalk. But the undercurrent of hate swelled. A parent complained at the PTA meeting, Mrs. Grant herself, Tyler's mom with her pearls and pursed lips. "My son says the curriculum is inappropriate. All this talk of alternative lifestyles." Principal Ramirez promised to look into it, but his email the next day was a gut punch. "Tone it down, Natalie. We can't afford lawsuits." She didn't tone it down. Instead, she doubled down, assigning a unit on identity and literature, James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room, Alison Bechdel's graphic memoirs. The class fractured. Some kids lit up, sharing stories of queer cousins or questioning glances in the mirror. Others simmered, Tyler passing notes that Nevaeh intercepted and crumpled without a word. It was during a group discussion on betrayal in The Great Gatsby that the first crack appeared in their bubble. A girl named Mia, usually quiet, raised her hand. "Miss Harper, why do you push this stuff so hard? Like it's not us." The room tensed, eyes flicking to Tyler, who smirked. Natalie took a breath, her heart hammering. "Because stories like these save lives, Mia. They remind us we're not alone." Nevaeh jumped in, her voice steady. "And because love is love. Gatsby chased the wrong dream. Don't chase someone else's hate." After class, Tyler lingered, his backpack slung low. "You two think you're slick," he muttered, eyes narrowing at Nevaeh. "But everyone knows." Natalie's blood ran cold. "Knows what?" He shrugged, sauntering out. "Wouldn't you like to know?" That evening, over wine on Natalie's balcony as the sun dipped into the Gulf Stream, she voiced the dread coiling in her gut. "He's onto us. Or suspects." Nevaeh pulled her close, the city lights twinkling below like distant fireflies. "Then we face it together. No more hiding." But hiding was a luxury they clung to, and now the tide was turning. Winter crept into West Palm Beach like an uninvited guest, the air cooling just enough for hoodies and bonfires on the beach, but the chill in Natalie's classroom was bone deep. December brought holiday decorations, strings of lights draped over lockers, a menorah next to the Charlie Brown tree in the hall, but for her it was a minefield of Merry Christmas cards laced with Bible verses on sin. Tyler's crew escalated. Fake rainbow flags torn and left on her car, whispers turning to outright heckling during her lessons. "Fairy tale time with Miss Fairy," one boy jeered, and laughter rippled like poison through the room. Nevaeh became her anchor, slipping into the supply closet during lunch for hurried hugs, whispering encouragements that tasted like hope. "You're changing them, Nat. Even if they fight it." Their nights together were oases. Candlelit dinners at Dada in downtown, where the eclectic crowd felt like family, or lazy Sundays at Nevaeh's apartment in West Palm's Arts District, painting each other's nails while debating the merits of Call Me By Your Name versus Carol. Love, Natalie realized, wasn't just the fireworks. It was the steady burn, the way Nevaeh memorized her coffee order, black with a splash of almond milk, and left voicemails reciting Pablo Neruda when work ran late. Yet doubt gnawed at the edges. Nevaeh's certification loomed in January, her future hinging on glowing evaluations from Principal Ramirez. "What if this blows back on you?" Natalie asked one night, tracing patterns on Nevaeh's back as rain pattered against the window. Nevaeh turned, her eyes fierce. "Then it's worth it. For us. For the kids who need to see this." The breaking point came mid-month, during the winter formal planning assembly in the gym. The air smelled of sweat and cheap cologne. Bleachers packed with restless teens hyped on the promise of slow dances and spiked punch. Natalie was there as faculty advisor, clipboard in hand, when Tyler grabbed the mic during open comments. "Hey everyone," he drawled, his voice booming over the speakers. "While we're on love and stuff, what about teachers dating students? Or like teachers dating each other? Creepy, right?" The gym erupted, hoots, whispers, a few uneasy laughs. Natalie's stomach dropped as eyes swiveled to her. Then to Nevaeh, who was across the room helping with decorations. Principal Ramirez yanked the cord, face thunderous, but the damage was done. By the end of the day, rumors swirled like hurricane winds. Natalie and Nevaeh were involved, corrupting the youth, a scandal waiting to explode. They met in the parking lot after, Nevaeh's car idling under the sodium lights. "He's lying," she said, gripping the wheel white-knuckled. "But they believe him because they want to." Natalie slid into the passenger seat, exhaustion etching lines around her eyes. "I should quit. Before it gets worse." "No." Nevaeh's hand found hers, fierce. "You don't run. We don't run." That resolve carried them through the fallout. Parents flooded Ramirez's inbox, Mrs. Grant leading the charge with a petition for Natalie's dismissal. The local paper, that rag of a tabloid called the Palm Beach Post's weekend insert, ran a buried story. High school drama. Allegations of inappropriate faculty relations. Anonymous sources, of course. Natalie fielded calls from her union rep, who advised laying low, but laying low felt like surrender. Nevaeh, meanwhile, poured her energy into the kids who still believed. She started an unofficial after-school book club, Pages of Us, she called it, focusing on diverse voices. Fun home. Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe. A handful showed up. Mia, the quiet one from before, now wide-eyed and questioning. Jamal, a non-binary junior with a fade and a flair for poetry. Even a couple of Tyler's peripheral friends drawn by the free snacks. Natalie peeked in once, heart swelling at Nevaeh's animated retelling of a coming-out scene, the circle nodding like saplings in the wind. But betrayal lurked closer than they knew. It came from an unexpected quarter. Sarah, a sophomore in Natalie's class, who'd been one of the first to defend her against the notes. Sarah, with her freckles and fierce feminism, had confided in Natalie about her own crush on a girl from the soccer team. "You're like the big sister I never had," she'd said. Now Sarah avoided eye contact, her desk perpetually sick on discussion days. The truth unraveled on a drizzly afternoon, when Natalie found an envelope in her mailbox. Not the usual hate mail, but a letter in Sarah's looping script. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. Tyler said if I didn't tell, he'd out me to my dad. He recorded you and Miss Ruiz at the beach. I'm sorry." Enclosed was a USB drive, time-stamped from their midnight kiss months back. Hidden camera, grainy but unmistakable. Natalie's hands shook as she plugged it into her laptop in the empty classroom. The door locked. There they were. Her and Nevaeh silhouetted against the waves, lips meeting in the moonlight. Innocent, beautiful, damning. Tyler had stalked them, weaponized a moment of joy. Rage boiled hot and righteous, but beneath it grief for Sarah's fear, for the trust shattered like sea glass underfoot. She drove straight to Nevaeh's, the wipers slashing through the downpour. Bursting in, soaked and sobbing, she thrust the drive forward. "He has proof. This ends everything." Nevaeh watched the clip in silence, her face paling. Then, arms around Natalie, she whispered, "Not everything. Not us." But the fear was there, a shadow in her eyes. The job she needed, the family she'd only half come out to. That night they held each other as thunder rolled in from the east, the storm mirroring the one brewing inside. The next morning brought the inevitable. A summons to Ramirez's office. Seated across from his desk, flanked by the district HR rep, a stern woman in a pantsuit, Natalie faced the inquisition. "We have concerns," Ramirez said, avoiding her gaze. "A video. Complaints. You understand this puts us in a difficult position." Nevaeh waited outside, her own meeting pending. When Natalie emerged, pale but unbroken, Nevaeh pulled her into an alcove. "What did they say?"
Suspension.
"Pending investigation." The words tasted like ash. "And you?" "Same. But they're letting me finish cert hours remotely." Nevaeh's voice cracked. "Nat, this is my fault. I pushed you to be bold." "No." Natalie cupped her face, thumbs brushing away a tear. "It's theirs. For hating what they don't understand." In the days that followed, West Palm's small-town machinery ground on. Protests erupted outside the school. Picket lines of churchgoers with signs reading "Protect Our Children," countered by a ragtag group of allies from the local LGBTQ center, rainbow flags whipping in the wind. Natalie holed up at home, fielding calls from reporters she ignored, her inbox a deluge of support from former students, "You taught me to love myself," and vitriol from strangers, "Pervert." Nevaeh shuttled between her apartment and Natalie's, cooking arroz con pollo and forcing walks along the breakwater, where the sea air cleared the cobwebs of despair. One evening, as they sat on the pier watching dolphins arc through the dusk, Nevaeh broached the unspoken. "What if we leave? Start over in Miami? Or Atlanta?" Natalie stared at the horizon, where the sky bled orange into indigo. "And let them win? No. This town needs us more than we need to run." It was a spark, that defiance. A plan forming in the quiet spaces between their breaths. Natalie reached out to the allies, the ones who'd marched for her. Elena from the center, a fiery Cuban activist with a Rolodex of connections. Marcus, a lawyer who'd clerked for the ACLU. "We fight," she told them over Zoom, her voice steel. "Not just for me, for every kid like Sarah scared into silence." Nevaeh nodded, her hand in Natalie's lap. "And we go public. On our terms." The decision settled like dew on palm fronds. Heavy but fertile. As New Year's Eve approached, with fireworks poised to light the sky over the waterfront, Natalie felt the weight shift. Betrayal had cracked them open, but in the fracture, light poured in. Love, she thought, wasn't fragile. It was the bold move waiting to be made. January thawed into a muggy false spring, the kind that tricked azaleas into blooming too early only for a late frost to blacken the petals. For Natalie and Nevaeh, the investigation dragged like a riptide, pulling them under with depositions and whispered rumors that seeped into every corner of their lives. Nevaeh's abuela called, voice trembling over the line. Mija, what is this I hear? Teaching is holy. Don't let the devil twist it. Nevaeh soothed her with half-truths, the ache of omission a fresh wound. Natalie's sister flew down from Philly, bearing cheesesteaks and tough love. Sis, you're a warrior. But warriors need armor. Get that lawyer moving. The bold move crystallized one humid afternoon in Elena's office at the Pride Center, a converted bungalow off Dixie Highway smelling of patchouli and possibility. Maps of protest routes papered the walls, next to posters of Stonewall and Obergefell. You want to flip the script, Elena said, tapping a pen against her coffee mug. Make it about empowerment, not scandal. An assembly, your story live. Invite the parents, the press. Show them the human side. Nevaeh leaned forward, elbows on knees. Risky. Tyler's crew will riot. Or it'll break the cycle, Natalie countered, her pulse quickening. Imagine Sarah speaking up. The ones who get it standing with us. Marcus, the lawyer, nodded from his laptop. Legally, you're golden. No policy broken. No minors involved. The video? Invasion of privacy, we sue if they leak it. But pair-wise, it's a gamble. They took the gamble. Over the next weeks, preparation became their ritual, scripting speeches in Nevaeh's kitchen, rehearsing in front of the bathroom mirror while pasta boiled on the stove. Laughter laced the tension. Nevaeh's dramatic flair turning Natalie's earnest words into theater, Natalie's edits grounding Nevaeh's passion into poetry. Nights ended in each other's arms, bodies a map of reassurance, fingers tracing collarbones, breath sinking like tides. But as the assembly date loomed, Valentine's Day of all ironies, the conflicts crested. Tyler's father, Mr. Grant, cornered Principal Ramirez in the faculty lot, his voice carrying like thunder. You let this happen on my dime? My taxes pay her salary. Ramirez buckled, calling Natalie into a final warning meeting. Cancel it, he pleaded, sweat beading on his brow. For the school's sake. Natalie's reply was ice. For the kids' sake, we do it. She walked out head high, only to find her tires slashed in the lot. Message received. Worse was the betrayal's echo in Sarah. Natalie tracked her down at the mall, where the girl huddled over a smoothie at the food court, eyes red-rimmed. I hate him, Sarah blurted when Natalie sat across from her. Tyler made me feel like trash. But you made me feel seen. Then come to the assembly, Natalie urged, sliding a flyer across the table. Pink paper with a simple rainbow wave. Tell your story. Take back your power. Sarah crumpled it, tears spilling. My dad's like Mr. Grant. He'd kill me. She fled, leaving Natalie with the weight of what-ifs. Nevaeh found her later on the beach, waves gnawing at the shore like doubts. You can't save everyone, she said, wrapping a blanket around them both. But you can try. The night before the event, fear clawed deepest. Alone in her apartment, Nevaeh at a family dinner she couldn't face. Natalie paced, the USB drive burning a hole in her pocket. She considered deleting it, erasing the evidence of their joy. Instead, she watched it again. Their kiss frozen in pixels, a testament to love's quiet rebellion. This is worth it, she thought. We are. Assembly day dawned brilliant, the sky a flawless cerulean that mocked the storm inside. Palm Grove High buzzed. Students herded into the auditorium, parents clustered in back, rose like storm clouds, a smattering of reporters with notepads at the ready. Principal Ramirez introduced it with gritted teeth. A special presentation on inclusivity. Boos rippled from Tyler's section, countered by claps from the book club kids. Natalie took the stage first, microphone heavy in her hand. Nevaeh a step behind like a shadow made of light. The spotlight glared, but she met it head-on. I've taught here for 5 years, she began, voice steady, because I believe in stories. Yours, mine, ours. But lately my story, being a lesbian loving who I love, has become a weapon. Gasps, murmurs. Tyler snorted audibly. Natalie pressed on, recounting the notes, the graffiti, the video without showing it, letting words paint the violation. Hate isn't born, it's taught. And silence lets it grow. Then Nevaeh stepped forward, her sundress fluttering like a flag. I'm Nevaeh Ruiz, and I love this woman. The words hung electric. Not in secret, not in shame. And if that's a crime here, then shame on us all. She spoke of her abuela's rosaries, the girl who'd broken her heart, the courage Natalie inspired. Love isn't a phase. It's the truest thing we have. The room fractured. Some stood applauding. Others stormed out, Mr. Grant red-faced in the aisle. Tyler rose, fists clenched, but Jamal blocked him, voice low. Sit down, man. This ain't about you. That's when Sarah appeared in the wings, flyer clutched like a talisman. She took the mic, knees knocking. I'm Sarah. And Tyler. He used me. Threatened me. Because he was scared. Sobs choked her, but she pushed through. Miss Harper showed me it's okay to be scared too. To be me. Chaos erupted, cries of support, shouts of outrage. A parent lunged toward the stage, but Elena's crew held the line. Natalie and Nevaeh stood shoulder to shoulder, hands linked as the tide turned. Mia joined Sarah, then Jamal, a chorus of voices rising. We're with you. Even Tyler faltered, sinking back, his smirk shattered. In the melee, Principal Ramirez signaled security, but it was too late. The moment had escaped, viral on students' phones, hashtags blooming like sea grapes. Palm Grove Pride, Love Wins WPB. Backstage, as the crowd dispersed, Natalie pulled Nevaeh into the prop room, hearts pounding. We did it, she breathed, forehead to forehead. Holy hell, we did it. Nevaeh's laugh was tear-streaked. Bold move, Harper. Worth every scar. But triumph was fleeting. The backlash crashed like a rogue wave that night. Mr. Grant filed a formal complaint with the school board, demanding firings. Reporters camped outside Natalie's door, flashbulbs popping like gunfire. Nevaeh's phone buzzed with voicemails from her program advisor. This complicates things. We may need to reassign. Curled on the couch at 2 a.m., wine forgotten on the table, they faced the abyss. What now? Nevaeh whispered, vulnerability cracking her armor. Natalie kissed her temple. We hold on. And we keep telling our story. February's fury peaked in board meetings that dragged into March. The school auditorium repurposed as a coliseum of crossed arms and pointed fingers. Mr. Grant testified first, his voice a sermon. This is indoctrination. My boy, our boys are at risk. Tyler sat beside him, eyes downcast, the fire in him dimmed since Sarah's speech. When his turn came, he mumbled, I was wrong. Joking got out of hand. No apology to Natalie, but the shift was seismic, a crack in the monolith. Natalie and Nevaeh spoke last, hands clasped under the table. Natalie recounted the toll. Sleepless nights, the therapy bills stacking up, the way hate had hollowed her love for teaching. But it also showed me why I stay, she said, voice carrying to the back row. For the Saras, the Jamals. For a West Palm where kids don't have to choose between authenticity and safety. Nevaeh followed, her words a bridge. My family fled Cuba for freedom. I won't let fear steal mine. She shared a letter from her abuela, translated haltingly. Love as God made you, Mija. The rest is noise. The room softened, a few nods amid the skepticism. The board deliberated in closed session, emerging with a verdict that split the difference. Reprimands for Ramirez on handling complaints, mandatory diversity training for staff, and, miraculously, reinstatements for both women. With caveats, the chairwoman added, a silver-haired retiree with a no-nonsense bob, discretion in personal matters, and community outreach. It wasn't victory, it was armistice. But as they drove home under a canopy of banyans arching over Belvedere Road, Natalie exhaled a breath she hadn't known she held. We survived. Nevaeh squeezed her thigh. More than that. We changed the story. Spring unfurled in earnest, azaleas rebounding. The air thick with jasmine and second chances. School resumed with wary normalcy. Tyler transferred to auto shop, his absence a quiet bomb. Sarah joined the book club, her laughter tentative but growing. Mia organized a GSA chapter, Grove Allies. With Nevaeh as sponsor, posters of interlocking hands papering the halls. Natalie and Nevaeh's love, once shadowed, now bloomed openly, subtle still but unapologetic. A kiss on the cheek in the lounge, fingers laced during faculty mixers. Weekends stretched lazy. Kayaking the Loxahatchee River, where mangroves whispered approval. Brunches at Avocado Grill, mimosas toasting resilience. Yet scars lingered, humanistic in their honesty. Nevaeh's certification hit snags, her advisor's concerns delaying graduation by a semester. But she channeled it into substitute gigs, her passion undimmed. Natalie's therapy unearthed old wounds. The college ex who'd outed her to spiteful friends. The job interview lost to a sideways glance. Healing's not linear, her counselor said, and Natalie nodded, journaling by the lagoon at dawn, pages filling with gratitude amid the grief. The bold move's ripple reached beyond Palm Grove. The video, leaked anonymously, but cleaned up by Marcus into a blurred, powerful clip, went viral, shared by GLAAD, featured on NPR's All Things Considered. Letters poured in. From a teacher in Tampa who'd faced the same, quitting in defeat. From a student in Orlando coming out because if she can, I can. Elena called it the West Palm effect. A spark for panels and petitions. One balmy April evening, as cicadas hummed their symphony, Natalie and Nevaeh hosted a bonfire on Singer Island, invited the club kids, Elena, even Principal Ramirez, who showed with a six-pack and sheepish apologies. Flames danced on the sand, casting faces in gold. Jamal read a poem about bridges over chasms. Sarah shared her first date story, blush blooming like hibiscus. Tyler didn't come. No invitation extended, but his mom sent a card to the school. Learning. Thank you. Later, as embers glowed and guests drifted, Natalie and Nevaeh walked barefoot to the water's edge. The moon hung low, a silver crescent mirroring Nevaeh's tattoo. Remember that night? Natalie asked, nodding to the spot where Tyler's camera had stolen their piece. Nevaeh smiled, wistful. Our beginning. Stolen but not erased. They kissed then, slow and deep, the ocean applauding with sighs. No cameras, no crowds, just them, woven into the fabric of a town forever altered. In the end, it wasn't a fairy tale. No dragons slain, no princes rescued. It was Messier, more American. A drama of hearts cracked open, emotions raw as peeled shrimp at a boil, romance tempered by reality, and a humanism that whispered, keep going. You're enough. Natalie returned to her classroom, paperbacks refreshed, ready for the next story. Nevaeh earned her certification that summer, taking a full-time gig at a rival school but vowing daily drives across the bridge. Their love, like West Palm itself, sun-soaked, storm-scarred, endured. And in quiet moments Natalie would think, hated for who I am but loved for who I became. The bold move hadn't changed everything, but it had changed enough.